Welcome to the Inquiry 2.0. Today we've got a fantastic upload, and it's a gem of a news report, an in-depth report, and an analysis of the court case and the sentencing of Michael Boyle, infamous triggerman who attempted to take the life of Tony Brindle as part of a South London war. He was brought over and paid by an associate of the Daleys, who the Brindles were at war with. This is very in depth, and it goes into Michael Boyle's background as well. This is by Connor Lally. I'm going to read this to you, and I will interject with my thoughts or adding certain things to it as I go. Well worth listening to the end. So with that being said, if you can smash the likes out of there, let's get on with it. This is the Sunday Tribune, 30th of March 1997. 18 months ago, in the South London suburb of Walworth, police marksmen jumped out of a British gas van and fired 14 shots at an alleged Republican Army professional hitman. Seconds earlier, the hitman, Michael Boyle from Bray, County Wicklow, had shot at London at Anthony Brindle from inside a parked van, where he, Boyle, had been waiting for 3 hours disguised in a wig. Although one of Boyle's bullets passed through Brindle's left elbow before becoming embedded in his lower left chest, and the other passed clean through both of his thighs, Brindle still ran back to his house, which he had just left. Boyle gave chase, brandishing the powerful Browning pistol, which still contained 7 bullets, intending, according to the British police, to finish off Brindle. As Boyle jumped from the van and ran down the street after the wounded Brindle, police marksmen jumped out of the nearby British gas van and opened fire on him. A total of 14 shots were discharged from 2 police rifles, and Boyle was hit 5 times, in the forearm, right chest, between both shoulder blades, in his left elbow and left ear. Both men recovered from their injuries, although Boyle has since lost most of the power in his left arm. Last Monday at the Old Bailey in London, Michael Boyle was in prison for a minimum of 15 years for attempting to kill Anthony Brindle. The September shootout in Walworth was the final chapter in a 6-year feud between 2 rival criminal families in South London, the Brindles and the Daleys, the court was told. The court heard that the feud began in August 1990, when 2 men believed to be associates of the Brindles walked into the Queen Elizabeth pub in Walworth and threatened its owner, John Daley. When Daley's elder brother Peter arrived at the pub, one of the 2 men allegedly put a gun in his mouth. Similar attacks continued for the next 6 years, during which 8 lives were lost, including one of the 3 innocent people, and that of David Brindle, the brother of Anthony. The following month, in September 1990, Ahmet Abdullah entered a drinking club in South London and shot Stephen Delegan 7 times. Delegan, who was an associate of the Brindles, survived the shooting. In March of 1991, Abdullah was shot dead, and 2 members of the Brindle family, Anthony and Patrick, were charged with his murder but later acquitted at the Old Bailey. In August of 1991, another Brindle brother, David, walked into the Daleys pub in Walworth, the Queen Elizabeth, and allegedly became abusive. He was badly beaten with a glass ashtray and a baseball bat by James Moody, a friend of the Daleys. After the beating, Brindle threatened to kill Daley and Moody. He was shot dead before the end of the month in a pub in Walworth, and the innocent bystander was killed by a stray bullet. Moody, who had carried out the beating on David Brindle, was himself next to be shot. He was gunned down in March of 1993 in the Royal Hotel in Hackney. In August 1994, 2 more innocent bystanders were shot by unknown gunmen. It is understood that one of the men bore a striking resemblance to Peter Daley, and that the killings resulted from a case of mistaken identity. It was sometime after these murders that Boyle was contracted to kill Anthony Brindle. In court, Boyle claimed that he was recruited to kill Anthony Brindle by an Irish criminal named George Mitchell, nicknamed the Penguin, with an address in Palmerstown in West Dublin. Boyle claimed that Mitchell was his paymaster, and he was anxious to aid the Daleys in their bid to sort out the Brindles. Boyle alleged that Mitchell was a major criminal in both Dublin and South London, and that the Brindles had been stepping on his toes. Mitchell, the court was told, wanted Boyle to kill Brindle in order to re-establish himself in South London. Boyle was last arrested in Ireland after hijacking a vodka consignment, and he told the Old Bailey that following the arrest, Gardaí had encouraged him to infiltrate Mitchell's Dublin gang and become an informer. In his defence, Boyle denied attempting to murder Brindle. He claimed that he came under pressure from Mitchell to kill Brindle, and that Mitchell threatened to kill his girlfriend's young daughter if he did not carry out the Brindle killing. In court, Boyle claimed that he planned to shoot Brindle in order to satisfy Mitchell, but he had never intended to kill Brindle. Michael Boyle, who was aged 49, first came to the attention of the Gardaí when he was 21. A retired Garda who was stationed at Bray and arrested Boyle during the early part of his criminal career said that he came from a very respectable home and did not become involved in crime until he was 20. The Garda believed that Boyle, whom he described as a sharp dresser and talented footballer, began associating with people who were involved in petty crime, and it's through these associates that Boyle began his criminal career. He may have started with burglaries, but last week a special branch officer told the Sunday Tribune that he was suspected in the immediate aftermath of every single kidnapping or crime involving guns in the Republic from his mid-20s onwards. In the row of 10 terraced houses in Scott Park in Bray, where Michael Boyle grew up, and where his sister still owns a house, elderly neighbours cut the grass and tend their well-kept flower beds this week. All but one or two were reluctant to talk to journalists. One neighbour said that the whole family were very bright and that Michael in particular had a brilliant mind. He was so talented, said one woman. He could turn his hands to absolutely anything, and he was a very good student. His parents were very decent and honest people, and they were the kind that were anxious to see their kids doing well. Michael's two brothers and three sisters all have very good jobs, and they are all lovely people. Boyle is one of 6 children, the second eldest son in a family of 3 boys and 3 girls. His father, a soldier, and mother, a legal secretary, died some years ago. Another neighbour remarked that, as far as she knew, Boyle had attended the Presentation College in Bray and had never been in trouble in school. He was very good at football, and he was intelligent and fairly popular. Even at a young age, he was well able to hold his own in a conversation with adults. You wouldn't have to talk down to him the way you would with other children, she said. When charged with attempted murder in September 1995, Michael Boyle gave his address as Tynacle Road, in Innicore last week. While most people were willing to talk about Boyle, nobody had known him personally. The older residents insisted that he was not an integrated member of the community. If he had been, they would have known him, he said. In Inchicore's, I can't pronounce this, guys, it's Inchicore, is it? INCHICORES, Working Man's Club. One man said that he had recognised Boyle from the photographs in the paper. He said that Boyle drank in the club frequently, mostly alone, and never to excess, and kept himself to himself. In April 1975, having been arrested by the Gardaí in connection with a number of armed robberies in Rathdrum and Enniskerry, Boyle escaped from custody while on trial at the Four Courts in Dublin. On that occasion, he asked permission from prison officers to go to the toilet and emerged minutes later brandishing a pistol retrieved from the side of a cistern where it had been taped by an unknown associate as part of a carefully planned getaway bid. He was recaptured in May and detained at the Central Mental Hospital in Dundrum, from where he escaped. He was captured again in June and eventually convicted of the armed robberies. In 1983, along with an accomplice named Eugene Putney, he kidnapped a Whitlow solicitor, William Somerville, and demanded a 50 grand ransom. When Boyle phoned the Somerville home to demand a ransom, a detective recognised his voice and both he and Putney were arrested. Somerville was released, having been tied to a tree with a plastic bag over his head for 2 days in a secluded wooded area, 5 miles from his home. Boyle was granted bail and while awaiting trial, he kidnapped Alma Menina, the wife of a Greystones art collector. He demanded 60,000 but was arrested following a dramatic guards chase at Rocky Valley in Kilmarnock. He was convicted of both kidnappings in 1984 and was jailed for 12 years. After his early release from prison, he was arrested on suspicion of possessing firearms but was released without charge. He told Gardaí that he was an intelligence officer in the Republican Army and offered to sell him information for 20,000. Gardaí refused, questioning the reliability of Boyle's information. Last week, a former member of the Republican Army who had been stationed in Dublin and had served a prison sentence on firearms offences said that he had never heard of Boyle and doubted whether he had ever been in the Republican Army. During Boyle's trial, Gardaí gave evidence that he was an informer and that he had told them that he had been contracted to kill Anthony Brindle. The Gardaí alleged that 6 months after informing them that he was planning to kill Brindle, he travelled to England and carried out the shooting. A Garda told the Sunday Tribune last summer that the Gardaí had collaborated with British police to allow Boyle to travel to England in the hope that Boyle would kill Brindle and that the police marksman could then kill Boyle. It was hoped that it would be Scumbags nil, Law and Order 2, the Garda commented. Guys, I'm just going to interject there. I'm going to address that at the end because that is crazy. So I'm going to remember that, and I'll address that at the end. However, a special branch source last week expressed his doubts to the Sunday Tribune over the role of the Gardaí in the operation. These Gardaí expect people to believe that Boyle told them that he was going to shoot someone and exactly who that person was, and then that Boyle went out and carried out the plan. We were expected to believe that Boyle, who was a very intelligent man, set himself up like that. As far as I'm concerned, he said, the word was put out that Boyle was a Garda informant to make him look bad in the eyes of the criminals. When Boyle began to argue while he was in custody in England that he had been forced to shoot Brindle by George Mitchell, it all came out that he had been a police informer. During the trial, it had suited him to say that he had told the Gardaí here that he planned to shoot Brindle. But saying that, he was trying to paint a picture for the jury that he was under pressure from the Gardaí on one side and from Mitchell on the other. It is at least conceivable that the Gardaí did not find out about the plan to kill Brindle from Boyle. I find it very hard to believe that Michael Boyle would give the Gardaí enough information for the English police to jail him for 15 years. It just doesn't add up. Okay, so that was this article, which I found fascinating. I've read all about these South London wars. I spoke to people about them. I knew about Michael Boyle, but I didn't have all that background on him as a person. He was apparently a very serious guy from his 20s onwards. He was sort of into burglary and stuff before that, but then went into robbery, armed robbery, pretty callous crimes. You know, not my type of person who would take women, you know, kidnap women and stuff and all that kind of thing. Not my cup of tea. But nevertheless, a dangerous man. And he claimed in a court case that George the Penguin Mitchell, who is a super, allegedly, we'll say allegedly, I think he's still free. I don't think he's been charged with anything, but he's alleged by the papers in Dublin to be like top of the tree in regards to trafficking and everything else. So Boyle's flipped in this court case. He's blaming the Penguin Mitchell, said he was involved in it and he was the one who set him up for it. But what interested me was this section in this article where it says a Garda, so that's a policeman from Ireland, told the Sunday Tribune, so it wasn't Boyle, it was the Garda, told the Sunday Tribune last summer that the Gardaí had collaborated with British police to allow Boyle to travel to England in the hope that Boyle would kill Brindle and that police marksmen could then kill Boyle. It was hoped that it would be scumbags and they'll law and order too, the Garda commented. And a special branch has said that he doubted this, said to the Tribune, oh, I can't see that happening. But why would the Garda say that? An actual serving police officer. You know, it wouldn't surprise me. And it just goes to show, to this day, the Met Police, well, the police all across the country, there's so much corruption, not as much as there probably was in the 70s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, even early 90s. But, you know, nowadays we see time after time Met policemen being arrested for horrific murders and crimes and nonsense stuff. Also corruption. We saw it with the Stephen Lawrence. When was that? Back in 2000s, was it? You know, it's never changed. It seems to me that the rotten is a core, and that was, if what that Garda said was true, they were setting up a double murder. One for Tony Brindle to be killed, and then one for the police to kill Boyle in retaliation. So anyway, let me know what you think of that, and if you enjoyed the format. I do quite like finding these detailed news reports. I don't give much credence to most of the red top stuff, but when you get in detailed reports like this, where they're using the court records as reference, and more, I feel safer, if you like, to read it out and give it credence. Okay, if you enjoyed that, hit the likes for me, hit the notifications for the next one that I bring out. I try and bring out one daily between 4 and 5 o'clock, unless things get in the way with family life and everything else. All right, have a good evening.